I went down to Biscayne National Park's Visitor Center to participate in a meet and greet that a couple of YouTubers that I know were holding for their fan base. I'll put links to their channels and a little bit more information about the events of that morning in the description, but in summary, I launched the boat, didn't know where they had wanted me to tie up, so I went around to the kayak launching area and got shooed away by one of the park rangers. Not being able to get in touch with anybody on shore, no one had a VHF and the cell signal was poor. I just started heading north along the western shoreline of Biscayne Bay and did some shoreline fishing. I was trying out a new rod that I had recently purchased on Black Friday, or maybe it was Saturday after Black Friday, but anyhow, an Avid Inshore 7-foot light action, I guess it's called light moderate action. Put a Stratic 4000 on it and I was just testing it out. Really liked this rod. And as you'll see here in the next couple of clips that are upcoming, I had some action with some barracuda, which was about the only thing that was living along the shoreline. At least that was interested in my Z-Man bait. Make that Z-Man lure. I'll correct that. Got to give it to these Z-Man 10X, I believe it's called, lures, these soft plastics. These barracuda are unable to cut through it like they can with a Gulp or some other brand. You'll notice the wind was blowing pretty stiff out of the northeast, 10 to 15, gusting a little bit higher. Made it a little difficult keeping the boat parallel to the shoreline, but we did get some action in. I'm going to sit back and take a look at a little bit of it. That little barracuda was 10 to 12 inches long, and you got to respect a fish that knows how to release itself when you don't want to bring it in the boat. You could hear how the wind was ripping as I left it at regular volume at the beginning of this particular clip. I didn't have the wireless microphone with me. I'd been acting up. I've since figured out what the problem was. I'll be using it on future videos. Well, actually it's more like 17 or 18 after I measured the length of that de-hooker, 10 inches after getting home. I did receive a text message from fellows over at the meet and greet, so I started motoring back over to that area. I was still in a slow zone, so I had to kind of take it easy, so I decided to troll. And I put a gold Clark spoon lure out behind the boat. Picked up this little bait fish. Just a little bit of action on a little bit of a rod hidden back. Well, I figured out where I was supposed to tie up the boat, so I headed back over towards the meet and greet. It was getting towards the end of it. Went around and talked to some of the fellows there and met some interesting people from as far away as Canada. Anyhow, another fellow had a 24-foot angler, so 5 people got in his boat. One of them, Icy, who has another channel. His wife, Sandra, there in the picture with me, came across Biscayne Bay on my boat, as did Chris, another fellow there. We got beat up coming across Biscayne Bay with the winds blowing the way they were, right across open water. We took a pounding, but we got over to one of the cuts. This is Sand's cut, where we were hoping to do a little bit of bottom fishing. Sandra here was taking some smack from her husband, who was in the other boat, probably about 40-50 feet in front of us, if that. We were actually sitting in their chum line, which is probably a better fishing spot. But anyhow, she was videoing, she was bottom fishing, and I was sitting here trying to rig up a knocker rig for the bottom so I could put some previously caught finger mullet down there to see if I might pick up a grouper or two, which I actually did. I caught 2 baby black groupers, which are not shown in the video. Sandra caught a couple of white grunts, all fishing off the bottom. Unfortunately, my camera died and I didn't bother to get up to replace the batteries. But anyhow, we had a good day of being out on the water. I was really tickled that the trolling motor held up the way it did. With the current rushing through this cut on a king tide, this is an incoming tide, that little SP70 was able to keep the boat steady in the channel in all that current. And it wasn't even maxed out. I think it was at like a number 7 out of 10. The ride back across Biscayne Bay, at the end of the day, we got into the Homestead Marina just at dark. But it was a much smoother ride going with the wind, or with the waves, and the wind had settled down quite a bit. All in all, it was a very fun day of being out on the water, meeting some new people, and just being in good company. Sandra, I really appreciate you fishing with me. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and wishing everybody bent rods and tight lines.